A lot has been made about the death of 22-year-old Georgia college student Laken Riley. Some of it good, some of it bad. But there's one thing that keeps running through my mind the more and more I think about it, and more as the events and the information surrounding her death come into focus. Is Laken Riley's killer about to become 2024's Willie Horton? Wonder what I'm talking about? Hold on, folks. We're going to get into all this in just 1 second. My name is Brian Trippett. I am your front porch conservative. Step on up to my electronic front porch and let's talk. The year was 1988, and a group of Republican consultants put together a campaign ad so devastating that it wound up helping to defeat the Democrat nominee for president and help usher in a third consecutive term of Republican control of the executive branch. Now, for those who are watching this video that maybe are a bit too young to remember the Willie Horton ad, let me go back in time with you and show you a little bit about what happened and then start to talk about the historical parallel between then and now. So we'll begin with Wikipedia under the title of Willie Horton. William R. Horton, commonly referred to as Willie Horton, is an American convicted murderer who was the subject of a major issue in the 1988 presidential election. Horton had committed violent crimes while on furlough from prison, where he was serving a life sentence without the possibility of parole for murder. Released for a weekend as the beneficiary of a Massachusetts furlough program, he failed to return and was later recaptured and convicted of committing assault, armed robbery, and rape in Maryland, where he remains incarcerated. Going a little bit further, here's the background on what happened. On October 26, 1974, in Lawrence, Massachusetts, Horton and his accomplices robbed Joseph Fournier, a 17-year-old gas station attendant, and then fatally stabbed Fournier 19 times after he had cooperated by handing over all of his money in the cash register. His body was stuffed in a trash can, so his feet were jammed up against his chin. Fournier died from blood loss. Horton was convicted of murder, sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, and incarcerated at the Northeastern Correctional Center in Massachusetts. On June 6, 1986, Horton was released as part of a weekend furlough program, but did not return. On April 3, 1987, in Oxon Hill, Maryland, Horton twice raped a woman after pistol whipping, stabbing, binding, and gagging her fiancé. He then stole the car to the man he had assaulted. He was later shot by Corporal Paul J. Lopez of the Prince George's County Police Department and captured by Corporal Yusuf A. Mohammed of the same department after pursuit. On October 20th, Horton was sentenced in Maryland for 2 consecutive terms plus 85 years. The sentencing judge, Vincent J. Femia, refused to return Horton to Massachusetts, saying, quote, "I'm not prepared to take the chance that Mr. Horton might again be furloughed or otherwise released. This man should never draw a breath of free air again." Democrat presidential candidate Michael Dukakis was the governor of Massachusetts at the time of Horton's release. While he did not start the furlough program, he had supported it as a method of criminal rehabilitation. The state inmate furlough program, originally signed into law by Republican Governor Francis Sargent in 1972, excluded convicted first-degree murderers. However, in 1973, the Massachusetts Supreme Court ruled that the right extended to first-degree murderers because the law specifically did not exclude them. The Massachusetts legislature quickly passed a bill prohibiting furloughs for such inmates. However, in 1976, Dukakis vetoed this bill, arguing it would, quote, "cut the heart out of efforts at inmate rehabilitation." Now, what does it have to do with the 1988 campaign, you ask? Well, it goes a little something like this. Beginning in the fall of September 21, 1988, the Americans for Bush arm of the National Security Political Action Committee, under the auspices of Floyd Brown, began running a campaign ad entitled Weekend Passes, using the Horton case to attack Dukakis. The ad was produced by media consultant Larry McCarthy, who had previously worked for Roger Ailes. After clearing the ad with TV stations, McCarthy added a mugshot of Horton. The ad was run as an independent expenditure separate from the Bush campaign, which claimed to have not any knowledge of the role in production. Not entirely true. The ad referred to Horton as Willie. On October 5th, after Weekend Pass's ad was taken off the airwaves on the day of the Benson Quayle debate, the Bush campaign ran its own ad, Revolving Door, which also attacked a caucus over the weekend furlough program. While the advertisement did not mention Horton or feature his photograph, it depicted a variety of men walking in and out of prison through a revolving door. Okay, that's the background. Here's the upshot of what happened. That ad was so politically devastating, Michael Dukakis went on to suffer a massive, and I mean a massive, defeat in the Electoral College. George Herbert Walker Bush, who was then vice president under Ronald Reagan, swept in to power and was inaugurated on January 20th, 1989. Now, what does that have to do with where we currently are today with Laken Riley and her murderer? Call me crazy if you wish, but I'm starting to see some historical parallels here. Not perfect, but then again, history, it may not repeat, but it does rhyme, and I'm wondering if the rhyme of history is starting to be heard more and more with what happened. For those of you who don't know about Laken Riley, let me take you to some stories. From Fox 5 Atlanta, we have the following. This was the story that originally ran on February 22nd. University of Georgia campus death. Augusta University nursing student found dead near Lake Herrick. Foul play suspected. University of Georgia Police Department is investigating the death of a woman on campus after she failed to return from a run. Officials have identified her only as a nursing student at Augusta University. UGA's police department said it received a call from the person who was concerned about their friend at 12:07 p.m. on February 22nd. The caller said their friend had gone for a run near the intramural fields earlier in the day and had not returned as expected. Officers responded to the area and began searching. At approximately 12:38, they found the individual in a forested area behind Lake Herrick. The individual was not unconscious and not breathing and had visible injuries. Emergency medical services pronounced the individual dead at scene. The victim was not a student at the University of Georgia, but the victim was a student at another school, said UGA Police Chief Jeffrey L. Clark during a press conference at 7 p.m. Thursday. That was when everybody first started to hear about Laken Riley, a nursing student from the Georgia area. She was a UGA student and transferred to Augusta College. But more details began to surface about who she was and what happened and who her killer was. I take you now to the Associated Press, and this was written just a few days ago. Check this out. Killing of Laken Riley is now front and center of the U.S. immigration debate in 2024 presidential election. Written by Jeff Martin. I want to go into the heart of this article to give you a little more background on Laken Riley and who her killer is. Riley grew up in Atlanta's northern suburbs, graduated from River Edge High School in Cherokee County, where she ran the cross-country team, and then attended University of Georgia in Athens. She later transferred to Augusta University's nursing college, attending classes on its Athens campus not far from the sprawling UGA campus. She remained active in the sorority she had joined at UGA. Quote, her smile was extremely infectious, and she spread joy to others everywhere she went, according to her obituary, which added that she loved nursing and caring for others. Hundreds of people attended her funeral at Woodstock City Church, one of the largest churches in the area. Quote, her love for spreading God's word led her to attend mission trips through the church. Her love for the Lord was exemplified in every aspect of her life, the obituary said. Cherokee County School Superintendent Brian Hightower said in a statement that Riley was an outstanding scholar and athlete who inspired classmates and teachers. Our community and our world lost a shining light with the tragic passing of Laken, Hightower said. Riley was attacked near running trails on the UGA campus. Police found her body after a friend told police she had not returned from her morning run, authorities said. She died of blunt force trauma in the attack, and there was no connection between her and the man accused of killing her before the crime. University of Georgia Police Chief Jeff Clark said at a press conference, quote, this was a crime of opportunity where he saw an individual and bad things happened. The suspect. Hours after Riley was slain, Athens homicide detectives pulled a photo from a surveillance camera of a potential suspect who wore a distinctive Adidas hat, according to federal affidavit obtained by the Associated Press. That eventually led them to an off-campus apartment complex where they searched the grounds and a dumpster nearby and began to piece together details about Jose Ibarra, 26 years old, a Venezuelan citizen. Immigration officials say Ibarra entered the U.S. illegally and was allowed to stay. He unlawfully crossed into the U.S. in 2022, authorities said. He faces charges including malice murder, felony murder, aggravated battery, aggravated assault, false imprisonment, kidnapping, hindering a 911 call, and concealing the death of another. He's being held in jail in Athens. I think you begin to see why I'm thinking that there are parallels between what's happened in 2024 and what happened back in 1988. Willie Horton was already a dangerous criminal. Willie Horton was already behind bars, but due to a furlough program that then Governor Michael Dukakis kept open, he didn't start it, but he definitely supported it being there. Willie Horton got out, went down to Maryland, and committed even more crimes, to the point that the sentencing judge in Maryland wouldn't even let Willie Horton go back to Massachusetts for the fear he'd get turned loose again. 2024, an illegal border crosser comes into the United States of America 2 years earlier, and in Athens, Georgia, murders a young lady, quite brutally from the sound of it. Now, did Joe Biden cause illegal immigration? Depends on who you ask. But then again, his policies aren't doing a whole lot to stop it. Now, by the same token, for the sake of fairness, could Donald Trump have stopped this from happening? There's no guarantee of that. But what's happening in this is that people are beginning to see, or may begin to see, a very stark contrast between Joe Biden and Donald Trump on the issue of immigration. Depending upon whose poll you look at, immigration is either the number one or number two issue, flip-flopping with the economy or inflation, be that as it may. Now, a little bit more about Jose Ibarra. This is from the New York Post. Apparently, he'd been committing crimes before what happened to Laken Riley. Take a look at this. Again, from the New York Post, criminal activity of Laken Riley's accused killer was never flagged to the feds, Mayorkas says. Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas claimed that the federal government was not appraised by state and local governments about the criminal activities surrounding Laken Riley's accused killer. Jose Antonio Ibarra, 26, an undocumented Venezuelan migrant accused of murdering Riley, was initially apprehended by the U.S. Border Patrol on September 8, 2022, before being released on parole. Afterward, he allegedly was involved in 2 criminal incidents before the slaying of Riley. Quote, different cities have different levels of cooperation. We were not notified in this instance, Mayorkas told CBS's Face the Nation on Sunday. The 2 incidents for which Ibarra was arrested included one for illegally driving a scooter in New York City without a license in August, and another in connection with a shoplifting case out of Georgia. Riley, a 22-year-old nursing student, was violently murdered during her morning run on February 22nd near the University of Georgia in Athens, according to authorities. So, not only did he cross the border illegally, he was let go on parole, whatever that amounts to. And then, after being let loose on parole, he's committing crimes, which apparently the feds never realized he was doing. Yeah, I even hate to use the term comedy of errors, but it's the only one that immediately comes to my mind to describe all the bad things that led up to the fact that Laken Riley is now dead. So, is Jose Ibarra about to be 2024's Willie Horton? I don't know if he's going to be, but from my perspective, he should be. If ever you needed a lightning rod issue that quickly and emphatically differentiates the difference between Joe Biden and Donald Trump on this issue, it's Jose Ibarra, the alleged killer of Laken Riley. But it doesn't just stop with Laken Riley and Jose Ibarra. Over the weekend, President Biden gave an interview with Jonathan Capehart of MSNBC and was asked the question about during the State of the Union that Biden referred to Laken Riley's alleged killer as an illegal. I want you to hear this because this is pretty telling. Listen to this.
I noticed the look of surprise on your face when you walked into the chamber and you saw Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene. It was priceless. You feigned shock at seeing her. But during your response to her heckling of you, you used the word illegal when talking about the man who allegedly killed Laken Riley.
An undocumented person. And I shouldn't have used illegal. It's undocumented. And look, when I spoke about the difference between Trump and me, one of the things I talked about on the border was that the way he talks about vermin, the way he talks about these people polluting the blood. I talked about what I'm not going to do, what I won't do. I'm not going to treat any of these people with disrespect. Look, they built the country. The reason our economy is growing. We have to control the border and more orderly flow, but I don't share his view at all.
So you regret using that word?
Yes.
They built the country. They make our economy go. Mr. President, I have a question for you. Please explain to me how Jose Ibarra was building the country if he did that which he is accused of, that he murdered Laken Riley. Please tell me how he's helping build the country. Tell me how he was building the country when he got arrested for driving a scooter in New York City illegally or a shoplifting charge somewhere in Georgia. You want to explain that one to me? And why do I have the feeling that individuals like Jose Ibarra are not isolated incidents? Why do I have the feeling that thousands upon thousands and millions of these individuals who are crossing the border are doing nothing but coming here and looting and pillaging at will, doing whatever they wish, whenever they want, to whomever they find? No, sir, I do not agree with you that these people are coming here to build the country. No, I don't say that some individuals might not be coming here trying to seek a better life, and I don't necessarily begrudge them that. But the people who came here as immigrants, by and large, there was a time when they tried to come here legally. They tried to obey the law. They tried to assimilate into American culture, and they've contributed many great and wonderful things to the United States of America. I don't dispute any of that. But for you to try and pass off millions and millions of people who have crossed the border under your watch as somehow people who are contributing to the economy and are here to help build the country, ain't nobody buying it. But Biden was not the only one making comments about this over the weekend. I take you to a rally that Donald Trump held in or around Athens, Georgia. Folks, I want you to listen to this because he distinctly talks about the whole Laken Riley issue. Not much, but you begin to get a feel for where he's going to come down on this issue. Do me a favor and take a listen to this.
No remorse. He's got no regret. He's got no empathy, no compassion, and worst of all, he has no intention of stopping the deadly invasion that stole precious Laken's beautiful American life.
Brief, succinct, to the point, and a good old-fashioned shot right across the jaw. Now, like I said, if Donald Trump had been president, would this have happened? Still possibly could have happened. That's not to say illegal border crossings never happened during the Trump presidency. They did. They were just at a much lower level. ICE and Border Patrol had a much better handle on the southern border. As soon as Donald Trump left the Oval Office and as soon as Joe Biden was sworn in, 94 different executive orders that undid every policy Trump put in place. And now people are seeing the chaos. And if voters are looking and trying to understand what's the difference between these two men, Joe Biden is upset about the fact that he used the wrong word to describe what in reality is an illegal alien. Donald Trump is upset about the fact that in his mind, Joe Biden has no regrets or no remorse about Laken Riley's death. Maybe Trump's assessment is a little too harsh and totally incorrect. Probably is. But if you're looking for a stark contrast between these two men, the issue of immigration and Jose Ibarra may be the lightning rod issue that brings it into clear focus for voters across this country as we go into the election in November. But that's what I think about it. What do you think? As we start to wrap up this video, please do me some favors as always. Number one, if you're not a subscriber to my channel, please do so. Number two, please hit the bell for notifications. I want to make sure you're always aware when new videos, new live streams are coming out. Number three, please leave a comment below. I'd love to know what you think about this. Number four, share the video around. And finally, give me a thumbs up. My name is Brian Trippett. I am your Front Porch Conservative, and I will see you